Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the 8th lecture in this 9th distance learning course, Islamic Finance. It's a source of pleasure for me to introduce today's distinguished speaker, Dr. Shaheen Shayan Arani. Dr. Shaheen obtained his bachelor's and master's in chemical engineering from Columbia University in 1980 and 81 respectively. He got another master's degree in business administration from Columbia University in 1984 and a doctorate in business administration from California Coast University. Dr. Shaheen has interest in teaching. He has taught courses in corporate finance, advanced investment management, risk management in Islamic banking, sukuk financing, money and financial markets, financial engineering concepts, etc. Dr. Shaheen has been a regular speaker. He has spoken on risk management in Islamic banking, sukuk financing, and Islamic derivative structuring in international seminars sponsored jointly by IDB and its member countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, Sudan. Currently, Dr. Shaheen is the Chief Executive Officer and member of the board of Barakat Foundation Institute, Tehran. He is also the chairman and member of the board of Huda International Financial Engineering Company, Tehran. Dr. Shaheen would be delivering his lecture today on Islamic instruments of asset management. Over to Dr. Shaheen.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for the brief introduction. I will be giving you hopefully close to an hour speech on Islamic instruments for asset management, and hopefully we'll finish soon, and then we'll have the podium for question and answer. To start with, I hope everybody has received the presentation material and they have been able to read it briefly, but if not, I'll try to be as descriptive as possible to cover the material as soon as possible. To start with, what I'd like to do on the presentation, I'm not sure if everybody is seeing this, but the topics I will be covering will be basically the asset classes that will be considered as Islamic instruments and can be used for asset management. The next topic that I will cover will be trading issues with regards to these assets, and the third topic will include selection criteria in case.
Jadda, do you have our voice?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Are we on again? Hopefully, I guess we are. These are the benefits of having internet connected systems. So let's move forward. As I said, selection criteria for these assets are important that we will try to briefly discuss. Next, investment objectives for a portfolio of these assets that you might be interested to keep. Then an important issue in Islamic asset management, which is benchmarking of these assets. In other words, what would you be comparing the results of these assets to? Next, investment structures that exist, and after that, Sharia supervisory issues that are important in most Islamic countries and Islamic institutions that would like to invest in these assets. Then obviously regulatory issues are important that we will try to cover. Risk management issues are the final. Now, let me just briefly go through these concepts quickly, which you probably all have heard of. First is the Islamic financial system, basically we know excludes riba, which I will not try to explain because I hope and I am guessing that you all know what it is about. As you know, riba is something that in Quran has been totally prohibited, and it is claimed that if you get involved in this kind of transaction, you are more or less at war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one important aspect of financial system is to exclude riba, which is a form of usury, and as you see I've put here, packaging interest rate risk. Riba basically incorporates major interest rate risks into your system. Qarara, or qarar as they say, is a form of deception in trade or trading of risk where asymmetric information and risk profiles exist in contract. As you know, Islam constantly emphasizes symmetric forms of information for both sides of contracts. This is very important from non-Islamic point of view also, which basically refers to the fact that if you have asymmetric information or insider information structures, you are more or less creating unfairness in trade. So Islam definitely emphasizes the issue of excluding gharara in all these contracts or instruments to promote fairness in trade. And also maisir, which is form of gambling. We like to mention that as high speculation in trade. Any instrument or asset that has highly speculative nature to it will be prohibited in Islam, and we should be considering that also in our system. And finally, in addition to the risk-return participation features of the Islamic financial system, above exclusions, meaning excluding riba, qarara, maisir, more or less enhances the internal stabilizing effects of the system by excluding risks of inefficiencies created by gharara, meaning when you have asymmetric, not symmetric information, you are more or less creating unfairness and inefficiencies in the system. And if you have highly speculative features in your trade or form of maisir, you're more or less creating highly volatile environment. So Islam more or less likes to create a system which is fair, efficient, and not very volatile. That's what it means. You know, we have in Islam money markets and capital markets also. The reason why I'm bringing this up is more or less related to the fact that you have instruments for each of these markets. The brief description of money markets, or particularly Islamic money market, is basically referring to a market where by means of Islamic principles, short-term, usually under 2 years, liquidity and surplus funds are directed towards where liquidity deficits exist. This is exactly the same definition that's used in non-Islamic money markets, but as far as Islamic money market is concerned, the emphasis is on means of Islamic principles, meaning they have to have Islamic instruments traded in this market. This is where right now in Islam we have major difficulty. We don't have good liquidity facilitating instruments in Islamic money markets, and most countries are looking forward to develop this market as soon as possible. Most Islamic instruments do have liquidity problem, as most of you probably know. It is also a market where you invest your excess liquidity and borrow to satisfy your liquidity needs. So it is really a liquidity-based market. As far as capital markets are concerned, it is a market where by means of Islamic principles again, medium to long term, meaning above 2 years, of savings or investments are directed towards where medium to long term fundings are required or needed. Asset classes, more or less I have put together 4 asset classes for Islamic instruments. One major asset class is assets basically that fall into the category of profit and loss based instruments. These are more or less musharakat based instruments and also trade based instruments. We do have some general assets in Islam that have this musharaka feature attached to them. As far as trade based are concerned, these are more or less short term instruments that we will discuss more efficiently later on. The second group of classes are derivative-based classes that we have, or instruments in Islam, which I will briefly touch upon. We don't have enough time to go over each of these classes in detail, but Islamic financial derivatives is an area where many countries have paid particular attention to. I had a recent lecture in Indonesia on Islamic financial engineering concepts, and almost 3 or 4 hours was spent on this particular topic. The other asset class are the securitized based assets or instruments. These are more or less sukuk type structures that have recently become reasonably active and interesting for the Islamic countries and also non-Islamic countries. And finally, structured-based instruments. These are instruments that are more or less similar to structured finance instruments, but with a touch of Islamic principles attached to them. We will go over those also briefly. As far as the profit-loss-based instruments, I like to emphasize the musharaka-based instruments include the mudaraba contracts, which you most probably know, and I've explained what mudaraba contract is. You probably know this, but let me just repeat what you know. Basically, in a mudaraba contract, a supplier of short-term money or a working partner on the basis of sharing the result. Simple. I give you some money, you do some work, and we split profits based on pre-agreed ratios. Musharaka contracts, more or less, it's medium to long-term instruments. It's a partnership contract where two or more parties supply capital and also management. In mudaraba, one side provides capital, the other one provides the management or know-how. In musharaka, you can provide capital and management jointly, and then you can, on a predetermined basis, split profits according to what you have agreed on. This is more or less a medium to long-term
excuse
structure.
me?
Yes.
Dr. Shaheen, sorry for
Yes.
interruption, but we cannot see the slides skimming. Are you still staying on the first slide, or you are moving within the slides?
I am on the 6th slide right now.
Sixth slide, yeah, because we still
What
can't
slide?
see
What?
we can see the first slide only. I think we need to restart the codec from your side. Your codec, your camera needs to be restarted, and then the World Bank will reconnect you back. Dr. Shaheen, are you there? Dropped. Okay. Yes, Dr. Shaheen, now we can see you.
Are we connected?
Yes,
Okay, good.
great.
So, which slide were you following? Up to slide 3?
Actually, this slide was
Yes?
mentioning 4 items. I'm not sure. I was the
This one.
instruments.
Probably this one. Are you seeing this slide?
No, we are seeing you just like
Okay.
your video is freezed, if I'm not wrong.
Okay. Well, we need to have the slides on your system too, because I'm reading through the slides.
Yeah.
How can we set up the slides on your system?
Well, actually,
Do
you
we
have.
have to do anything on this?
Yeah.
I think we can proceed copy. The hard copy will do, I think.
Okay, you have the hard copy in front of you?
Yeah, we have the hard copy.
Yes, we have the hard copy.
Okay, good.
It's
So
under
why don't we
6
go to slide?
asset classes. Asset
Why don't we go
classes.
to slide 5? Slide 5. Slide 5 refers to profit and loss, the asset classes, which basically includes profit and loss based instruments with subcategories of musharaka based instruments and also trade based instruments. Then the other asset class will be derivative based instruments, and the next one will be securitized based instruments, and last will be structured based instruments, which we will cover quickly. As far as the musharaka based instruments are concerned, I mentioned before, it includes mudaraba contracts, which more or less is you provide funds to an individual or an entrepreneur who has knowledge or works for a particular invention or creation, and you split profits according to an agreed principle that you put together. Musharaka contracts more or less includes participation of two parties, including capital and labor or know-how, and then split into a predetermined or